You wake up in the middle of the night with an itch. You dismiss it. Maybe it's dry skin. Maybe it's nothing. But then it happens again the next night, and the night after that. And one morning, you pull back the corner of your mattress and see a small dark stain, and then another, and then something moves. That moment is one of the most unsettling things that can happen in your own home. Not because bed bugs are dangerous in the traditional sense, they don't transmit disease, but because your bed, the place you're supposed to feel most safe and rested, is no longer that. And unlike most pest problems, this one follows you to sleep every single night until it's resolved. What we're going to cover today is a DIY trap that's backed by peer-reviewed research from Rutgers University. One that in lab and field testing caught bugs faster than 11 consecutive nights of standard commercial interceptors. We'll build it from items you likely already have, explain exactly why it works based on bedbug biology, and then walk through the broader treatment approach you need alongside it. Because the trap alone, while genuinely effective for detection, is only one piece of a complete solution. Before getting into the trap, it's worth understanding why bedbug infestations are so routinely underestimated at the start and so difficult to fully resolve without a systematic approach. Bedbugs are nocturnal and cryptic. During the day, they hide in tight harborage sites, the seams and tufts of mattresses, inside box spring frames behind headboards, along baseboards, inside electrical outlets, within the joints of bed frames, and in any gap or crack close to where a human sleeps. Their flattened body shape means a crack wide enough to slide a credit card into is wide enough to harbor a bedbug. The visible ones, those you actually see moving, are typically a small fraction of the actual population. They feed exclusively on blood, typically at night while hosts are sleeping, and then retreat immediately back to their harborage. A single feeding takes 3 to 12 minutes. By the time you've woken up and noticed the bite, the bug has been back in hiding for hours. Bites are not a reliable confirmation method because about 30% of people show no visible reaction at all, and even those who do react may not recognize the pattern until the infestation is already established. The classic 3-in-a-row bite pattern, sometimes described as breakfast, lunch, and dinner, is common but not universal. The more reliable early signs are fecal spots, small dark stains that look like ink dots on mattress seams and fabric, shed skins, which are light translucent exoskeletons left behind as nymphs molt through 5 growth stages, and egg casings, which are white, about 1 millimeter long, and typically found in clusters in harborage sites. This combination of cryptic behavior, nocturnal activity, and a bite response that many people miss means most infestations are caught later than they should be. The trap we're about to build addresses this directly. It's designed to pull bedbugs out of hiding and into a container from which they cannot escape. The trap is built around one central fact about bedbug biology. The primary way they locate a sleeping host is by detecting carbon dioxide. When you breathe at rest, you exhale approximately 400 milliliters of carbon dioxide per minute. Bedbugs have evolved highly sensitive olfactory receptors on their antennae that detect CO2 as a long-range signal. It tells them a living host is nearby and actively breathing. They can follow a CO2 gradient from several feet away in still air, moving towards the source in the dark. This is the key mechanism. CO2 is the trigger that causes bedbugs to leave their harborage at night and begin navigating toward a host. Heat plays a supporting role at close range. Within a few centimeters, body heat helps them locate exposed skin, but CO2 is the primary long-range attractant. Rutgers University researchers studying this published findings confirming that a yeast-and-sugar fermentation mixture produces CO2 at approximately the same rate as a resting adult human, around 400 milliliters per minute at peak output. In field tests in infested apartments, this yeast-based CO2 source was as effective at attracting bedbugs as dry ice, which is pure solid CO2. One night of use with a properly built trap detected low-level infestations as reliably as 11 days of passive commercial interceptors. The second component of the trap is a pitfall design that exploits bedbugs' physical limitations. Bedbugs can climb rough surfaces. They navigate walls, baseboards, and fabric using small claws on their feet, but they cannot climb smooth or powder-coated vertical surfaces. Their feet cannot grip talc or baby powder. Once they fall into a powdered container, they cannot get out. The trap combines both, CO2 to bring them in and a slippery interior to keep them there. Here is the standard construction approach with proportions based on the Rutgers University research. What you need: a plastic bottle, a 2-liter soda bottle or similar works well for a standard setup, a larger plastic container or bowl, something like a shallow Tupperware container or a pet food dish, masking tape, baby powder or talcum powder, active dry yeast, granulated sugar, lukewarm water. Step 1. Prepare the CO2 generator. Fill the bottle roughly 1/3 to halfway with lukewarm water. The temperature matters. Aim for around 100 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 38 to 40 degrees Celsius. Water that's too hot will kill the yeast before fermentation begins. Water that's too cold will produce very slow or no activity. If you don't have a thermometer, lukewarm from the tap is a reasonable approximation. It should feel warm but not uncomfortable on your wrist. Add the yeast and sugar. For a bottle-based setup, a practical ratio is approximately 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast and 10 tablespoons of sugar per liter of water. The Rutgers large-scale recipe uses 150 grams of yeast to 750 grams of sugar, a 1:5 ratio by weight, in 3 liters of water in a bucket for stronger output over a longer period. The smaller bottle version is adequate for monitoring and detection. Scale up if you want higher CO2 output. Swirl gently to mix. Do not shake vigorously. This can introduce too much oxygen and disrupt the fermentation process. Leave the cap off. Within 15 to 30 minutes, you should see bubbling beginning. This confirms the fermentation is active. If there is no activity after an hour, the yeast may be expired. Replace it with a fresh packet. Step 2. Prepare the pitfall container. Take the outer container, the bowl or Tupperware, and apply masking tape around the entire outside surface, from the base up to the rim. Run strips vertically so they cover the full height without large gaps. The taped exterior creates the rough climbing surface bed bugs can use to reach the rim. Inside the container, apply baby powder thoroughly to the interior walls. Pour in a generous amount and tilt the container to coat all interior surfaces, then tap out the excess. The coating needs to be complete. Any section of uncoated interior wall can give bed bugs enough grip to escape. Some people use a small brush to apply it more evenly. Step 3. Assemble. Place the open bottle in the center of the container. CO2 is heavier than air, so it sinks downward and outward from the bottle opening, pooling in the surrounding container and creating a concentration gradient that extends outward at floor level. Optionally, place a loose plastic bag or piece of cling wrap over the top of the container, not sealed, just draped, to direct the CO2 downward more efficiently. Position the trap on the floor near active areas, alongside the bed, near a baseboard, next to furniture that may be harboring bed bugs. Leave the room and ideally keep the room unoccupied for 2 to 3 days. This is important. Human breathing produces CO2 at a rate that competes directly with the trapped CO2. If you're sleeping in the room, you become the more attractive CO2 source and the trap becomes less effective. Removing the competing signal significantly increases catch rates. Keep pets out as well. They breathe CO2 and can also disturb the setup. Check the trap every 24 hours. Use gloves when handling it. Count and document what you catch. This gives you useful data on population level and infestation distribution across rooms. Replace the yeast-sugar mixture every 1 to 2 days as fermentation indicated by reduced bubbling and the liquid becoming clear. The CO2 trap works best for active detection, especially in vacant rooms or during initial investigation. For ongoing monitoring while you're sleeping in the room, a passive interceptor used alongside the CO2 trap provides a second layer of protection. Passive interceptors work on the same pitfall principle without the CO2 bait. They're placed under each leg of the bed frame. Bed bugs traveling from their harborage toward the bed, attracted by your own CO2 and body heat, climb the rough exterior of the interceptor, fall into the inner powdered moat, and cannot get out. You, sleeping in the bed, act as the natural bait. You can build a DIY version the same way as the outer container in the trap, a small plastic bowl or dish with taped exterior and thoroughly powdered interior, sized to fit under a furniture leg. Commercial versions like climb-up interceptors achieve the same effect and are inexpensive. For interceptors to work, the bed must be completely isolated, no bed skirt touching the floor, no bedding draped over the sides, and the bed frame must not touch any walls. If the bed has any contact with the floor or walls outside the interceptors, bed bugs can bypass them entirely. Use together CO2 traps for active detection and passive interceptors for ongoing monitoring and bite prevention. These two tools give you both faster initial confirmation and continuous data on whether population levels are rising, stable, or declining during treatment. This is where it's important to be direct. The trap is a genuine and research-supported detection and monitoring tool. Rutgers field data is clear that it works significantly better than passive methods for early detection. But it does not address deeply hidden individuals or the full scope of an established infestation. Trapping alone without an integrated treatment approach will not resolve a bedbug problem. Here's what the integrated approach looks like. Laundering and heat treatment of fabrics. Bedding, pillowcases, linens, curtains, and any clothing stored near infested areas should be washed and dried on the highest heat setting the fabric can tolerate. The heat from a dryer above 120 degrees Fahrenheit sustained for 30 minutes kills all life stages including eggs. Seal laundered items in clean plastic bags until the room has been treated. Vacuuming. A thorough vacuum of the mattress seams, box spring, bed frame, baseboards, and surrounding furniture provides immediate population reduction. Use a vacuum with a bag rather than bagless if possible, and seal and dispose of the bag immediately after. Focus on seams, tufts, corners, and crevices rather than flat surfaces, which are not where bedbugs congregate. Steam treatment. A steam cleaner applied slowly along mattress seams, box spring edges, baseboards, and furniture joints kills bedbugs and eggs on contact through heat. The tip of the steamer should move slowly, approximately 1 inch per second, to allow sufficient heat penetration. Steam is one of the few reliable methods that kills eggs at the point of treatment. Mattress and box spring encasements. Encasing the mattress and box spring in bedbug-rated covers, zippered with sealed seams, traps any remaining bugs inside permanently and removes the most common harborage sites from the equation going forward. Leave encasements on for at least 12 to 18 months as bedbugs can survive extended periods without feeding. Crack and crevice treatment. For established infestations, a residual insecticide applied specifically to harborage sites. The inside of bed frame joints, along baseboards, around outlet covers, provides a chemical layer that intercepts bugs return to harborage after the initial treatment. Products like Crossfire, Alpine WSG, and Bedlam are used for this purpose. Isopropyl alcohol at 91% concentration kills on contact and is useful for direct treatment of visible bugs and eggs, but it has no residual effect. Avoid broad surface spraying. It exposes people and pets to chemicals unnecessarily and does not address bugs hiding inside walls and furniture. Monitoring through treatment. This is as important as the initial setup. Continue running CO2 traps and interceptors throughout the treatment period and for at least 4 to 8 weeks after the last visible activity. Bedbug eggs are resistant to most contact treatments and hatch over a period of 1 to 2 weeks, meaning a new generation of nymphs can emerge after the adults appear to have been eliminated. Continued trapping tells you whether the population is actually declining or just temporarily reduced. For light, early infestations caught quickly, a diligent DIY approach using the methods above can achieve full resolution. The trap is particularly useful here. Detecting an infestation early, before it's widespread, is when DIY treatment is most viable. For moderate to heavy infestations or any situation where 2 to 4 weeks of consistent effort hasn't produced a measurable decline in trap counts, professional intervention is the more reliable path. Professional whole room heat treatment. Raising the ambient temperature in a room or structure to between 122 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit and sustaining it for several hours kills all life stages, including eggs, in a single treatment and penetrates areas no surface treatment can reach. It is the most effective single method currently available. In apartment settings specifically, coordinate with building management. Bed bugs travel through wall voids, electrical conduits, and plumbing gaps between adjacent units. A fully resolved infestation in your unit can be re-established from a neighboring unit within weeks if the building-wide situation isn't addressed. To summarize, the yeast-and-sugar CO2 pitfall trap works because it mimics the primary signal bed bugs use to locate a sleeping carbon dioxide and pairs it with a physical design that exploits their inability to climb smooth, powdered surfaces. Research from Rutgers University confirms it detects infestations faster and catches more bugs than standard passive interceptors under the right conditions. It's inexpensive, buildable from household items, and genuinely useful. But detection and partial reduction are the limits of what any trap can do. The complete approach, laundering, vacuuming, steam, encasements, targeted residual treatment, and continued monitoring, is what actually eliminates an infestation. Use the trap as the diagnostic layer that tells you where the problem is and whether treatment is working. Then address the problem with everything else at the same time. If you found this useful, subscribe for more practical research-based pest control content. We'll see you in the next video.